Okay, so we saw an example of a lock file. So how do you restore it? So the main commands, so RV always begins, or UV always begins with the UV, and then there's a specific command that follows the space. So these are identical. You do UV sync for Python or RV sync for R. And it does require you to have the version of R Python installed. If you are using R, I do recommend that you take a look at rig. So rig will basically let you install multiple versions of R. There's actually a nice little command. It's like rig add, and then you put the version number, and it will go and install it and make it available. So with Python, you're able to do this natively. You can install multiple versions using the Python installers. R is just a little weird because it wants to have like the active version of R, like so. If you've ever encountered, like if you installed another version of R like that, like and then you try running R, it's always going to point to the new version. So rig helps you manage that. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to clone and restore an environment. So let's do it for Python because I found this to be more reproducible. So I am going to take this link here. And I am in a folder called testing. So I just want you to pay attention to the file pane over here. So I'm going to do a git clone and then the name of the repo. And so you can see that that was created in the testing directory. So I have not found a good, I'm doing this because you can see you can actually do this from, and this is Positron. You can do this from Positron, but basically I'm having some issues with that. So I'm going to open that folder in testing. Okay, so testing. So I'm going to open this example in Python. Okay. So just as a quick check, we can try running these. So you'll see it needs GeoPandas. And it's saying we don't have GeoPandas. So that's a problem. So number one thing we need to do is like looking at the pyproject.toml, we'll see that it requires 3.13. So first thing we'll need to do, we need to switch our environment to 3.13 once, of course. So this is the way you can kind of change your environment here. So you wanted, so I have 3.13.2 here installed. And then I need to do that same thing because this is a Python notebook or a Jupyter Lab notebook. I need to use that same version of Python here. Okay, so still no GeoPandas. So how do we get GeoPandas? So this is the terminal. So we are in the folder. So we can do, so one thing to note is you want to make sure that your RV installation is accessible. So I always check so you can see I have it installed here. But now we're going to do RV sync. Oh, wait, sorry, this is Python, UV. Okay. So that looked like nothing, right? But you saw that basically it installed all of the packages. So if we do this, we try to execute the cell now. Oh, I think maybe we need to restart the kernel. Okay, 1 second. I think I need to close down Positron and reopen it to get this to work. 1 sec.
A very undervalued trick in coding and computing in general is turning it on and off again.
Yep.
Off and on again.
Totally.
Can sometimes help just to restart the environment. And
okay, so let's take a look at what our UV did. So it actually installs all of our packages in this virtual environment folder. So these are all specific to Python 3.13. And now that we have that, hopefully. Okay, UV sync, we got that working. Why is this?
Like the interpreter, it has to be this new virtual environment.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so thanks everyone. So what it created a virtual environment, but we actually need to get activate the virtual environment. And the way we do that is we start a new session or kernel. And the reason you know that this is a virtual environment because it says MCR example. That's actually what I called the environment. Okay, so now, fingers crossed. Yep, it's loading.
Was that name specified in the TOML for the environment? The MCR
yeah,
example?
so let's take a quick look. So yeah. Okay. Okay, so now our packages are loaded, so we can load. So I have a GeoJSON file here, and then we can now execute everything. So again, this is like an isolated environment on our machine. So getting to this point was, I will say, is a learning process. What I don't like about like a lot of these reproducibility frameworks is they say it's easy. It's not necessarily easy. We'll have some stumbling. I wish I could make it easier, but unfortunately, the way the tools work together can be a little confusing. So if you so we can even, so this is a interactive map here that has kind of some information. If you came for the, I think it was the winter datathon last year, this is the data set we looked at. Okay, do people want to see this done in R as well? So give me a thumbs up. Okay.
Question from Christine has her hand up.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry,
Christine,
was just trying to say yes, but then you said thumbs up.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
good.
Oh, no, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so I am going to show this for R. There may be some issues with this, but we'll do our best. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone. So it's the same URL, except it's R at the end of it. Okay, so, oops, I don't want RStudio. Stop that. This does work with RStudio, but I just decided to use Positron because it works for both. So what we're going to do is we want to open that folder. So it's MCR example R. Okay, so we need to so I'll make this a little bigger. So we've got, this is an example that uses Bioconductor. I wanted to have an example that was non-trivial. We'll look at this Cordo document in just a second. So what we need to do is we need to RV sync again. So you'll notice that there is this RV folder here, but there's nothing in the library. So let's try RVsync, fingers crossed. That was a lot faster than I was expecting it to. So you can see it actually did all of this very quickly. And again, this is because we're using binaries rather than installing from source. Okay, so what we can do is that we can, okay, so if we look at our TOML file, you'll see that we need to use 4.5. So we can, I have our 4.43 and our 4.52 installed here. And so if we look at the console, sorry, I'm going to make this a little bigger. You'll see that we've got RV is like, hey, we're up and running. So theoretically, if we open this file, we should be able to run it. So yeah, it's loading our libraries, which is great. And then this one is an expression plot. So let's just make that. So this is basically, if you take our bioconductor course, this is like one of the things you're going to do. You're going to investigate kind of library sizes and kind of how they affect expression. But yeah, so I was able to do that. And if we look in library here, you can see it got all of the libraries. So like I tried getting this running on Posit Cloud, but it just took forever. So I didn't want to frustrate people. So just want to pause. Any questions this brings up? And I have a lot of questions too. Just getting this to work took a little experience.
Oh,
Sure.
I had a question. I guess I'm struggling to understand the relationship between UV and Docker.
Yeah.
I guess I kind of just used Docker to do a lot of this, but I mean, UV Sync seems a lot easier, but like, I guess,
Yeah.
yeah, what are the differences?
So great question, Leah. So like I said, Docker is kind of it's kind of the gold standard. If you are able to write a Docker file, like this is kind of less relevant to you. So I will say the one thing is that our RV and UV are a little easier to use, and it kind of requires you to be proactive in terms of installing your packages. Don't know if that was helpful at all.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess like in this demo, it just seems so much easier to use UV than Docker. Using Docker, and it's been a bit of a nightmare, and so
Yeah.
this just seems a lot easier. But I wasn't sure, like, are there holdups as well?
I think ultimately, like I mentioned, this is a great starting point, especially when you're starting to learn reproducibility. But I think and Taylor can weigh in on this as well. I think really Docker is still kind of the gold standard for reproducibility.
Yeah, Docker is more general purpose. If you're sticking within Python or sticking within R, RV and UV are plenty. That's totally fine. But if you're looking to bring in outside dependencies, like say you're doing sequence alignment and you want to use BWA and then a Python script, or GATK and then a Python script, that's when it becomes a little more like, this might be a little hard to do with you could theoretically do some of it, but like it becomes a lot harder. Whereas Docker files are very versatile and adaptable to pretty much anything you can install on a Linux machine or on a Mac. So.
Okay, so like in other words, it's like a screenshot of like everything that you have running versus like everything in your Python environment.
Yeah, so UV and
Yeah.
RV are great for those environments, whereas Docker is like your entire computer. You are recreating that entire software environment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Taylor. Okay, so again, the part of the reason I do recommend RV and UV is that it is fast. If you've ever tried installing from Renv, you'll know that it takes more time than that. But like you just saw, like, you know, it essentially went and got all of the libraries very quickly. And we didn't have to worry about too much. So if we look at the RV lock, so this is like the actual thing. It's doing the job of looking for like requirements and dependencies for each of the packages. So this BioC parallel package requires these other packages. So Snow is for multiprocessor processes, and then there's some other packages that it needs as well. Yeah, and so Derek is saying, I think of Docker for system Linux libraries and bare Python bones. And then UV for Python packages as it's mutable while you're in the container.
The other thing is if you don't know what packages you need yet, like you're starting an analysis and you might need to install something or you don't need something, I think UV is way more flexible and better. And then when you're totally sure it's set in stone, then go through the effort of making a Docker file. I think is
Yeah, that's a great point, is that, you know, a lot of times if you're doing exploratory data analysis and you don't know all of the packages you need, UV is kind of a good kind of intermediate way to kind of document your work. Yeah, great questions. Any other questions? Oh, okay. So it looked like Christine had a note about RStudio need to branch. So Positron is now our recommendation for data science, like using Python and R, just because the integration, it has some really nice things. So like, I don't have the R example here. Let me see if you. So it gives you a lot of things like being able to kind of browse the objects. And it does this for Python as well. So this integration is very nice. It really helps you when you're doing kind of exploration of the data and just making sure that everything is loading correctly.